My name is Robin Hoffmann, and I volunteer with the Cortland County Historical Society. Today we're going to be interviewing a brother and a sister, and can you introduce yourself?
I'm Kathleen Park Cole.
And I'm Dave Park.
Alrighty. Okay, so let's just go right into it then. These questions are for both of you too. Mm-hmm. So, favorite memories of growing up in Truxton, from Truxton area. Do you have anything you can think of that was great about that sticks out in your mind?
I think probably the thing that sticks out in my mind, and when I grew up, TV wasn't a big thing, and I was like 7 before we got a TV. And it was the community. I mean, you couldn't do very much in the town that somebody didn't know about. Mm. There were lots of mothers and fathers everywhere. I think the churches had a big impact on our lives. Mm-hmm. The schools had a big impact. We were a very small area. Mm-hmm. We did everything in school, and it was good because you did a lot of things. You weren't excluded from anything. Mm-hmm. I'm older than Kathy, so she probably has a whole different take than I do.
But I agree along the same lines. Church played a big part in our lives. There were 2 churches in town, the Methodist Church and the Catholic Church, and everybody belonged to one or the other. Mm-hmm. And everybody was somebody, especially in school. Our class sizes were about 27, 30, 30 at the most, normally not that big. But everyone was someone. It didn't matter who your parents were.
There was no status.
No, there was no status, no. Everybody was just...
That's nice.
Yeah, yes.
To find a place like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny, just a sense of community that still exists, even though Truxton is, a mere shadow of what it used to be. When somebody passes away now, everybody in Truxton comes to the calling hours. Mm-hmm. There's still used to be a saying, was it John J. McGraw? Truxton against the world.
Against the world.
Yes. So.
I like that.
Well, I think the town's heyday was probably 1870 or something like that, mm-hmm. And it probably started downhill shortly thereafter. There was a period where there were several furniture type factories in the town and mills in the town. And all of those were gone by the time we were kids growing up. Mm-hmm. But there were still, we're going back. We had general stores. Mm-hmm. Real, true general stores. Mm-hmm. Where you walked in and the dry goods were over here, and the meat counter was back there, and there was a soda fountain over here, mm-hmm. and mm-hmm. The post office was in one of the general stores. Mm-hmm. And that's unique, totally unique, mm-hmm. Okay? And having a chance to experience that kind of thing, it's difficult to pass it along to people, but it was wonderful to have it in our town.
Mm-hmm. It does sound wonderful. Mm-hmm. Great. Now, when you said something about Truxton being a shadow of what it used to be, what were you referring to?
Just the size. A lot of people now have passed away, mm-hmm. and not a lot of people have moved into town. Mm-hmm. So,
probably starting with my generation, we started mm-hmm. moving out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You don't live in Truxton anymore.
No.
I've come back to Cortland County, but I didn't come back to Truxton.
Right.
So, kids are not staying there. There's no jobs there.
Right.
They're going to have to go somewhere else to work, so they move somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think it's so much Truxton, it's the fact that it's just the economy in general, New York State, everybody's just leaving. Mm-hmm. But it's
retire and come back.
But it's sad to drive through town now and see
mm-hmm.
the homes that were once beautiful, and now
Right.
they're no
Yeah.
longer being taken care of,
Yeah.
and people are elderly and can't afford it, or just
Well, even the homes along Main Street, so many of them are gone now from when we were kids. They deteriorated and finally were taken down, and you know,
right,
it's a different look than when we were growing up.
right, right.
How would you spend your days when you were young? What would you do when you're out of school in the summertime?
Well, let's get it to like 8 years old. We had in Truxton a teacher, coach, Andy Tay, and during the summer, 5 days a week, he loaded up a school bus, drove to Cortland. You could take swim lessons in the morning and free swims in the afternoon at Suggit or Wickwire
Wickwire.
Pool. And in the mornings, he brought the boys down to play Pee Wee League baseball, Babe Ruth baseball, and then you could swim in the afternoon. The days that we didn't come to Cortland, the school was opened up for us. The gym was opened up, all of the athletic fields were opened up to us, and he went there and he opened them up, and we played baseball and soccer and
Put on
kickball,
plays.
and yeah, we did all of that. He was fantastic for that town. I mean, he came out of Cortland Normal, and it was his first job, and he stayed there for whatever years. Okay, so we had all of that going on. As I got older, once again, remember you're a small town, so you're dealing with different age brackets. We would go up to what is now part of Truxton Rural Cemetery. At that time, it was an empty field with the Curry House on one corner. And there was a makeshift baseball field there. And we'd play pickup games. You'd have 8-year-olds and 16-year-olds playing together. We were a small town. You got a ball team together with whatever you had. So we did that. Okay, as kids.
Same here. We had the summer recreation program in the afternoon, and swimming at Wickwire in the morning, and you know, all due to Andy Tay. If he's responsible for a lot of children's being able to swim and play ball. Yeah, he was great.
Really, yeah.
He was great.
I remember would have been my sophomore year in high school. They decided they were going to bring back a play that had been done years and years and years earlier at the school. It's called Sunbonnet Sue. We rehearsed all summer long. All summer. By the time the play was actually done, which was in the fall, everybody had their lines down pat. You couldn't throw us off of anything. Missed cues, we picked up, we moved on. It was fantastic, but we rehearsed all summer and then. So, I mean...
Was that Andy too?
Oh, Lord, yes. Andy Tate was the music director, was the band director. We had a music director. But he also started the band program. So he taught music, and he taught, and the one thing, I guess, too, about small town, nobody owned an instrument. Instruments were all owned by the school.
Right.
And you were given the instrument if you wanted to play in the band. A little unusual, isn't it? You don't hear that anymore.
No,
really don't.
no.
We were very, very unique that way because we did have a chance to. I can't carry a tune in a bushel basket, but I was in the choir. We didn't have enough kids, so they filled out with all of us, and we mouthed words. And in the band it was the same way. If you wanted to play in the band, you were in the band. You didn't get kicked out of anything.
It's great.
Which was,
Yeah,
it was
right.
really,
Yeah,
growing up, we experienced everything.
we did.
Okay,
Wow.
we experienced everything.
That's not what I expected to hear.
Oh, it was a neat little town. It really was. It really was.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into trouble? You don't have to answer that one.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Anything you'd want to share?
I don't
No.
know, there's probably people alive that would be seeing this. I don't want to answer anything.
I don't want to go that far. I don't want to go that far.
Let's just say John J. McGraw Monument saw a lot of things.
Yes, it did. That's
Yes.
true. It did. Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm intrigued.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, you don't want to know.
All right.
Go ahead.
Growing up, one of the big things to do was go to Little York Park. At that point, they had rides and a concession stand and a little train that went through the park, and monkeys in a cage.
Mhm.
I remember those monkeys.
And that big whirl
Oh yeah, the flying swings.
flying swings.
Mhm, yeah.
Yes.
So that was a big deal. Now it's CRT up there, which we enjoy going to. I don't know, restaurants,
Mhm.
locally, Green Arch, and
Mm-hmm.
it's always a favorite.
Was there
Commandos, I can remember going there as a kid.
Well, I think you have to backtrack with us as a family. Friday nights, you came to Cortland. You did your shopping.
Grocery shopping, yeah.
Did your grocery shopping. Probably stop and got an ice cream somewhere. We would then go to my grandmother's in Homer, and then we would go home. So we didn't come to Cortland a lot. We didn't go to Syracuse a lot. We pretty much stayed around there. Our father's great thing was he was a day trip vacation guy. If you could go somewhere and come back that night, that was a great day. He loved that.
Yeah.
Stay overnight, well, you know, we didn't really like that, but we would do day trips. St. Lawrence Seaway, Old Forge.
Right. Right.
But, you know, in terms of neat places and things, you know, as a kid growing up, I was always intrigued with Cortland State. Our aunt was secretary of the director of admissions there. And as a kid, during summers, she would have us come down and work for her, stuffing envelopes and doing things like that. And always enjoyed coming down there. And it was during summer, so there weren't kids around, but was always enamored by all of that. It's nothing like what it is today. There were 3 or 4 buildings, and that was it in those days. But that was interesting as a kid to come down here. You know, there were, I don't know, it's a tough one to answer.
It is, because we were kind of self-contained in Truxton.
You didn't get on your bikes and ride over to DeRide or anything?
Oh,
No.
what's a good ride.
Yeah, it is. But you didn't.
Well, Dave, when he was little, and he's older, so he rode the train to DeRider.
Oh, yeah. The
The
depot
train.
was still functioning. There were
Yeah.
trains. The big deal was in kindergarten, you took the train to DeRider and you had lunch in DeRider and came back. The depot closed shortly thereafter. I don't know if it was due to me or
Or
what.
what?
But the guy who was what would you call it, station master, also owned a potato chip factory in town. And I've told Kathy this story many times because it was gone when she got to the point of being able to go downtown. I had an aunt who worked there. And the big treat was we would go down to Kenny and Law General Store, get a Coke, go across the street, and Aunt Anna would bring us potato chip crumbs. And we would sit there and eat these potato chip crumbs and drink our Coke. And I was happy as can be.
Yeah.
Life was much simpler then.
Yes. And I think that's a lot of it too. Life was simpler, and in many ways better.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid, this time of year, okay, with today particularly, and you're seeing lots of people out and about today. We would sit on the front porch every night. And people would be walking by and we would be talking to them, and you know, it was just, that's what you did. You sat on your front porch, you talked to people, and that was what was anticipated. And kids would play catch and, kick ball and do some things, but the adults always went and sat on the porch. Got your meal done, you sat on the porch. That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Okay. How about some of the changes that you've seen over the years? Seen any real changes that I bet you have? It sounds like.
It doesn't have to be just Truxton.
No.
It could be just Cortland in general.
I think the biggest thing is the decline in industry, and I think that is our biggest problem, countywide and probably statewide. You can see it even in Cortland. You see all these young kids walking around that don't have jobs, where, years ago they could have gotten a job in a factory, and there's no factories here anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a trickle down effect. So.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, the heart of Cortland County's dairy farming was dairy farming. And there were farms everywhere. I mean, if you just took Route 13 from here to DeRuyter, you had the Forbes farm, the Goddard farms, the Potter farms, all these Arnold's great farms. Well, they're gone.
Yeah.
All the small farmers are gone. Truxton had a milk plant. It's gone. So there's that change. We're not an agrarian culture anymore. We're a manufacturing type culture. Our dad worked for Smith Corona. Started at Groton. Drove from Truxton to Groton every day. And when they built the new place in South Cortland, he went there. There's not here anymore. All the companies that made Cortland, you see them every time here at CCHS. There's, Brewer Tichenor, Wickwire, you just go down Lewis Brockway. None of them are here. Okay? Some have come in and we thought were, I think, going to do something here, and they vanished in the night. Some of it was when the tax credit died, we left, I think. But, that's sad that all of that goes away. The other changes that you're seeing, and you're going to probably see more of it, unfortunately, is consolidation of schools. Truxton, little school, it's part of Homer. Virgil was a little school, now part of Cortland. And that's just not Cortland County, that's all across the board. And when you do that, when you take the school out of the community, it's like you've taken some of the lifeblood away. Right now, Truxton's in this charter school thing, but part of what they did is they got the building back. And now they're going to start doing some things up there, possibly putting a library in, possibly starting to host events again, doing things. You're talking small town here when you're growing up. Kathy mentioned something the other day, which I didn't even know. Periodically, there would be dances at the school. There were town dances. They weren't kid dances. They were just kind of country bands, local bands, and they do round dancing, square dancing, and Mom and Dad used to go up. And I didn't even know that.
You didn't have a Grange out there.
Sure we did.
We did.
You did,
Yes,
okay.
we did.
Sure we did. Kathy Church bought it, and then when Mom passed away, her
Bereavement luncheon.
was in the Grange. It's right behind John Jay. But now that's been torn down. So, there's a lot of that. The school has a big bearing on these towns. Virgil still has an elementary school, don't they?
Yes.
Yes. But a lot of that town is not what it was either. And Truxton's the same way. It's just things start falling apart, and we got a fire department, volunteer fire departments, and gas station. There's not much else. Both of the general stores are gone. There was a hardware there, which was a unique hardware. If you go all the way back in the history of the town, it was a bank at one point in time. It was a hardware store. It was a blacksmith shop, all in this one building that burned. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, you go back and this is. Most of the world had dial telephones. Not Truxton. We had a crank. Hello, Blanche.
That was.
Was it a party line?
Some people were on private. We had a private.
We had a private line, 6-1.
6-1. Yeah.
That's right. That's how you knew. So we experienced that.
Yeah.
You know, when I look at my life, like all the things I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I had a crank phone. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have a cell
I saw
phone.
fax machines. They thought those things were crazy. Okay, copiers. You know, rather than mimeograph. All these things I've seen in my lifetime. It's like, wow,
Right.
lots of things have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all started in a little bitty town. You know. Kathy was talking about size of class. We graduated 17 in my high school graduating class. And I think 13 of the 17 went on to college.
Wow, that's an amazing number.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think I talked with a buddy of mine from college days earlier this week, or last week, and he said, why did we do better than others? I said, well, we came from small towns. We had sort of a farmer background, which was like, you figure out a way to get it done. Farmers, if something broke, you figured out how to fix it out there.
Right.
Because you couldn't get the guy, take it to the repair guy or get the repair guy out there. And I think a lot of that happens in small towns. You make things do. It's like when I mentioned before about playing baseball, 8 years old to 16 years old, all playing on the same field.
Yeah.
And that was scary when you were a young kid.
All back.
So you had somebody throwing an 80-mile-an-hour fastball at your head. And we didn't have batting helmets in those days. But I think that's the small town life.
I think the beauty of the area, the hills and the valleys. My mother always said you could drive to Vermont and you wouldn't get any prettier view than if you're like going up 81 and seeing all the hills and again, even though Cortland is bigger, it's a sense of community. You pretty much can walk down the street and run into somebody you know.
Yeah.
You can. You know everybody.
Well, you're a newbie. You'll get on board.
Sometimes that's an advantage.
Yeah, very.
Well, I came back here from Dallas. So I have a very jaundiced viewpoint on a lot of things. You have clean air. That is a major thing. If you live in major metropolitan areas, they do not have clean air. You breathe some of the most awful stuff there is. You wake up here, it's clean air, it's fresh. Kathy said, Mom always said, you don't have to go to Vermont. Just drive around here. And she's right. And when you really see it, I mean, particularly this last fall, where it was just stunning here. I enjoy the sense that I can get anywhere in Cortland in 15 minutes in traffic. I think that's phenomenal. It really is. It's in Dallas in the mornings, and I was 25 miles from my office. It took me 45 minutes in the morning to get there. It took me an hour and a half to come home at night. Same distance. You enjoy your life here much more, I think. The people are very friendly here. They're very open. They're people who talk about New Yorkers have never been to upstate New York. You know, in the negative tone.
Right.
You come up to upstate New York, it's altogether different. Okay.
Yeah.
Great community, great churches, lots of events. I mean, we see it at CCHS, all the stuff that goes on in this town.
Yeah.
It is Air County, really. It's fantastic. You go to Marathon this time of year, and the Maple Fest, and You know, you got all these things going on. You got ski centers in the winter. You know, you got a repertory theater here.
Right, that's wonderful. And you're not far from anything.
No, you're not.
You can go to Syracuse, hop on a plane, and, you know, go to New York City or take a bus to New York City if you want to see a show or shop. Or we're not far. We're centrally located, and it's just a good place to be.
Yeah.
You're talking small town. So what do you do at night? You're 14, 15 years old. Sitting on the porch is fun, but you're 14, 15 years old. My mother used to talk about hanging out at the stop sign. Small town. There were, 4 or 5 stop signs in the whole town. At the end of the street we lived on was a stop sign, and it had a street light above it. And what would happen is, not that we're doing anything wrong,
Just hanging out.
but the guys would all hang out at the stop sign. My mother used to go nuts over that. Not wanting us to go down. It was just, we were talking.
Yes.
You got nothing else to do,
Right.
so you would talk, okay? And you'd hang out together, and after a while, we'd go, I'm going home now, and everybody would disperse and it'd be all over. But my mother used to talk about hanging out at the stop sign.
Yeah, the stop sign. Yes. Or at the monument.
Or the monument.
Yep.
Yeah, the monument. Yep.
Oh,
But I wouldn't trade growing up in a small town for anything.
Right.
I wouldn't. I really wouldn't.
That's lovely.
Where this issue of kids on the farm and kids in town, the kids on the farm always had money. Every one of them. Because they're farmers. And as they got older, their parents gave them cows. If you have cows, you sell the milk. You sell the milk, you have money. So all the farm guys had money. The town guys, we didn't have anything. So all these guys who were out on the farms, they were driving 56 Chevys and 57 Chevys and Thunderbirds, and they had cars. Well, Lee drove a Dart, white Dart. I mean, they all had money. But it was never a big issue. I mean, they would come town, pick us up, and off we'd go. That's when we'd come to Cortland and catch a football game on Friday night and that type of thing.
That's not what I expected either.
Oh no, it was. Remember, we all played sports together. You know, we all.
That thing that you said about it being small, like if you needed a team to play baseball or do anything, you had to get the whole gang in. I guess that just hadn't occurred to me.
Oh yeah.
You make it sound like an ideal place.
it was. It really was.
We didn't lock our doors.
No.
Why would you lock the doors?
No.
You know everybody.
That's right.
Nobody's going to take from you because they don't have it either.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
There was no class system per se.
No.
There were a few who had a little more than others, okay? But there wasn't a major class stratification here. Oh no, we were all,
No.
as my mom used to say, we're all potato farmers. You know?
I love it.
Well, I mean, truthfully, Truxton was the Irish people. The O'Donnells, the Mahars, or Mahars, Hartnetts, they're all together. Dwyers were a part of that.
Mom always said she was the only Irishman in Truxton that wasn't related.
What was her name?
Alan, but
Alan.
her mother was a Fanning from Otisco. There's a big congregation of Irish.
And that's who built the church out there. It's St. Pat's, right?
I think so, in
Is this-
In
Otisco.
Tisco?
No, I meant in Truxton. What's the name of the cathedral?
Oh,
St. Pat's.
St.
It is
Patrick's,
St.
yeah.
Pat's. Yeah, so the Irish built that
Yes,
church.
yes.
Originally, the first church in Cortland County was St. Patrick's in Truxton,
Really?
right?
I should know that,
Then it burned,
but
so they had to rebuild, okay? I think somewhere in it, we'd have to dig back in the church thing, but the very first church in Cortland County was in Truxton, because Truxton was incorporated before Cortland was incorporated. Truxton was in 1808 when it separated out of Fabius. Okay, so so anyway, then that church burned, and there was a Baptist church there, the Catholic church, and I think a Methodist church. And the Catholic church burned, and I forget what happened to the Baptist church. But this was the heyday of Truxton, and they built a road from Homer to Truxton because there was so much commerce in Truxton. A wooden road.
It must have gone up over a hill.
It's the Lighthouse Hill.
Oh.
They went right the Lighthouse Hill Road, where they went up over the hill and came down, and then 13 went up to Truxton. That was the original road built from Homer to Truxton. Can you imagine that?
No.
All wood.
No.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. But growing up in a small town was fun.
It was. It was.
You made a lot of what you did. You did a lot in school. Church suppers. School suppers. That was a great way to earn money to take your annual trip to Washington.
Real sense of community then.
Very much.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very much. Yeah.
Oh yeah. With all the stuff, Sharon, I've done at the house, with the exception of what Charlie did, every contractor is somebody I know from Truxton. Every one of them. I just know, I knew them or I knew their parents.
It's amazing.
And it's just, and everything, it's still, for a lot of these guys, it's on a faith basis.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about that, we'll get it. But you go out and do whatever you need to do. I'll put the tractor in when I leave. And I'll put the door down for you.
Yeah.
It's different.